welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, I have removed the original soundtrack here. I'm leaving this clip in just because of the wide angle shot, but I took this with my new little knockoff type GoPro camera, very cheap thing, $50, something like that. And anyway, the sound on the thing is crap. Angel and I are out at the cabin to do some cabin camping. I don't know what I might be talking about in the background there now, I forget. But it isn't a snowstorm, as you can see. Beautiful sunny day. It's late winter or getting very close to early spring. And I'll show you some shots outside. Eventually there is lots of snow still around. But we're going to spend the night and do some camping in the cabin. Well, as you can see, there is still a lot of snow to melt. I would say out here at the cabin there's probably close to 1 meter. Angel's on her way over. Impatient, not going to wait for me any longer. It seems to be the last place where it melts for some reason out here. It's sheltered by all the trees, I guess, but even at that it gets quite a bit of sunshine in the daytime, but the last place to melt out. But there's still plenty of snow everywhere else on my property too. It's just, we're just now starting to get a bit of warmer weather and stronger sun, of course, and it is starting to slowly disappear. As winters go, it wasn't that bad. The coldest that I recorded it here on my property was minus 18 Celsius. I'm not quite sure what that is in Fahrenheit. Friends on the other side of the island said they had theirs go down to minus 20 Celsius, so that's quite possible. I mean, I'm in sort of a sheltered location from the winds and whatever. And snow, we had several snowstorms. This last one, just a little over a week and a half ago, was not a terrible blizzard or anything, but it was the most snow that we got in any single storm this winter, somewhere between 30 and 40 centimeters, 1.5 feet if you're talking old money, so to speak. Just showing you that we have all the modern conveniences out here. This is our refrigerator. It's just one of those cheap styrofoam picnic type coolers, and not really buried that deep in the snow, but it's down 6 or 7 inches in the snow. Weight on top to keep the lid from blowing away, and it will keep my produce and buttermilk and everything else that I'm going to be using out here to keep it nice and cool. It's just about the temperature outside today is just about what it would be in a refrigerator anyway. It's +2 now. Well, hello. We are in the cabin finally. Angel's here beside me. I guess you can see a bit over there. When I start talking, she's convinced I'm talking to her, I guess. It's, like I said, I think it's 2 or 3 degrees outdoors now. If you live somewhere in the subtropics or a warmer climate, 2 degrees and you'd think you were freezing to death. We would here also if it was July or August when it happens, but when you get into March and you get a day that goes up to 2 degrees, it's t-shirt weather practically, especially the strength in the sun. It's 2 degrees, but if it's a nice sunny day, you get out with the sun shining right on you, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to be doing some cooking, of course, but it's quite early for that yet. It's only 1:45. I think we have everything that we need moved out here. I thought this would be a good opportunity to do my book talk. Some reason whenever I do a cabin video, several of my subscribers like to know what I'm reading. I want to thank Tim Myers, M-Y-E-R-S, a New York Times best-selling author. He subscribes to my channel, and when I did that giveaway of the sourdough culture, he was one of the people that got the sourdough culture, and in return sent me an email and wanted to offer me some of his books. Very, very kind of him. I don't know. I only took 2. I just felt biggie taking two, Tim, but thank you very much. I have read the first one. What I decided to go with, his books are in several series, and I decided to go with the series called the Lighthouse series. And the first one in that series is In Keeping with Murder. That's I-N-N, keeping, like you're keeping an inn. In Keeping with Murder. I just finished that last night and really enjoyed it. I know I will now go on to read the second one, which is in the series, which is Reservations for Murder. They're obviously, with the titles with murder in them, they are whodunits. Also with a sort of a little love line going there. The main character is sort of falling in love with a woman that he's hired to be maid at the inn where they work. I really, really enjoyed them, and I really thank you, Tim. It was very generous of you. I'm sure I will go on and buy the rest of the series because I will want to read them all. They're very good. I'm taking a pause, though. Right now I'm going to read a Rory Stewart book, if you can see that or not. I've only ever read one other book by Rory. Do a Google search with his name. It goes on for pages. He's had quite a career. He's a member of Parliament. I'm not sure now if it's a member of the Scottish Parliament or if he's a member of the British Parliament. The British Parliament, I think. He lives in Cumbria, in the north of England, but I think he is originally from Scotland. Anyway, the only other book that I ever read, I'm not sure of the title, he walked across to Afghanistan just a few weeks after 9/11 attack in New York. Talk about a brave man. And he tells of his experience in walking across to Afghanistan, and he really didn't have any terribly negative experience. He had a wonderful walk across Afghanistan, and this one is called The Marches, a borderland journey between England and Scotland. So I know once I get into that later today, I will be enjoying that as well. Well, that's the books that I'm talking about today. And for dinner tonight, I'm going to have a vegetarian chili. And I think I have all of the ingredients out here to put that together, but it's far too early to start cooking it. Most of the ingredients are, pre-cooked. They're out of a tin. Beans and chickpeas, that sort of thing. There are some vegetables that go in that need to have some cooking time at the beginning, but there's no need in starting it this early. And I'm going to be making some biscuits to go with it. Buttermilk biscuits. I don't think I've used this exact recipe before, but I've made biscuits with buttermilk in them, so those will be getting done as well. I have the stove going, and it's very difficult to regulate the heat in here when it starts to get warm. I also have the windows open, the two big windows, and there's a window on the door. There's no wind, so there's no wind blowing in or anything, but it's releasing some of the heat outside. I can't quite take a lot of heat. And over there I can see my thermometer, and it's up higher than I am. It's only reading 23 degrees, but nevertheless I keep my house at around 19 all winter. I'm not a fan of heat. So I've got my poiki, my South African cast iron cooking pot, heating up on the wood stove, and a very moderate fire going, so hopefully I can get it hot enough that it'll do the cooking that I want it to do. If not, I can put it on the gas stove here, the Coleman gas stove. So I'll bring you back when I start cooking something. Well, if you can hear the roar in the background, that's the Coleman stove going to heat up the Coleman camp oven. I'm going to try making my buttermilk biscuits here. I did all of the measuring and whatever before I left the house and just put it in a plastic bag. But I will go through the ingredients for you. It's 250 grams of all-purpose flour. I'll put a link down below as well, and it gives you in grams and cups, both. It's 2 cups of flour, or 250 grams. And also mixed into that I have 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. 85 grams of unsalted cold butter. Cut it up into some smaller pieces before I put it in there. And I'm just going to use a pastry blender to mix that in with the flour mixture. Get it down to smaller pieces. You can do it by hand, just rubbing it in by hand. But I find when you do that, of course, you also warm up the butter. Works much better if the butter's cold. Using my wooden spoon that came from the Ross Farm Museum a number of years ago in Nova Scotia, made at the farm. I keep it out here at the cabin, so the only time it gets used is when I moved here cooking. I think that's probably cut in there enough. Just get it off this thing. Okay. Now 3/4 of a cup of cultured buttermilk. Hopefully I have that much left in this. I've used it for a couple of other things in the not too distant past. A little bit to spare. Nice and cold. Buttermilk is cold along with the butter. Just a little bit of plain flour here, just to roll it out on. I won't use a lot, but combine it a little better before I take it out, I guess. See, the butter still in there, so that's good. No rolling pin, I'm just going to do it by hand. Better luck when I do it by hand anyway. When I use a rolling pin, I tend to get them too thin. Somewhere's here I had a biscuit cutter. There it is. sure what size biscuit cutter that is, but it's the one I decided to go with anyway. Bring you back when they're all in the pan. I don't know what size the biscuit cutter was, but it must have been somewhere as close to the right one, I guess. The recipe says it'll make 12, and I've got 13 there. So. The oven is almost up to temperature, 450 degrees. 15 to 17 minutes, it says, at 450 degrees. So I'll show them going in just a moment. Well, it has gone up over 450. This thing is always very hard to regulate, but I've turned the flame down. Closer to 500 there now, but I just turned the flame down, so it will cool down as it goes. It's not as easy to regulate as it is when you're cooking at home. And I'll show you when they come back out of there in probably 15 minutes time. At least they browned nicely and didn't burn. I had my usual problem with the oven temperature. Too hot to begin with, and then I cooled it down and it was too cold. I wouldn't say that they rose a great deal. But I'm sure they'll taste good. I've got 5 more to go in the oven, so I'll get these out and put them on the rack here. Batch number 2, I got a little darker than the last batch, but I guess they're alright. Very hard to regulate the temperature in that oven. However, I think they'll probably taste alright. The biscuits smell so good that Angel and I have got to try one. No butter or nothing, just eating it the way it is, because it's got lots of butter in it, isn't it? They're very light. They're very tasty. Nice crispy top on them. Well, they didn't rise any more than they did, but they are very tasty. I like anything with buttermilk, and it always seems to give it a extra little flavor. You want to try it, Bob? And they're Angel approved. Well, I'm going to do a little reading. It's still only 2:15 in the afternoon here, so it's too early to start preparing dinner. I'll bring you back when I start putting my chili together. Time to start making my chili. And as I said, it's going to be a vegetarian chili, so I have a selection of vegetables here that are going to go in it. I peeled the carrots and I washed everything else before I left the house with them. I'll start with some onion and garlic, I guess. Saute some onion and garlic before I put anything else in there. This knife looks like a really good knife. It is not. It's a really cheap knife. I have Wüsthof knife at the house. It looks almost identical to that one, which is a wonderful knife, but this is some sort of a knockoff set that I bought cheap that I just use out here at the cabin. I just sharpened that one this morning, even though it's just been sharpened. It is not a great cutting instrument. this isn't going to be cut up fine anyway. It'll cooked over a long period of time, so just a rough chop will do. I had very little luck with garlic last year, so my garlic is bought in. Well, all the vegetables here are bought in, but normally I would have enough of my own garlic. I would still be using it, but I planted soft neck garlic and had dreadful luck with it. There will be no more soft neck. I planted some hard neck garlic in the fall. Hopefully I'll have better luck with it. I've been having strange things happen with garlic. I only buy it a hit at a time because worried that it won't last. It'll spoil before I use it. So bought a hit of garlic in a grocery store a week, 10 days ago. Remember very well picking it out of the bin and putting it in one of those little produce bags. Presume I paid for it. I don't know where it went, but I never made it home with it. I've searched and searched and searched and I can't find it anywhere. So this was purchased just a couple of days ago. Sobeys in Fredericton. And I managed to make it home with this. Well, I'll continue chopping here and show you when I'm ready to put it in the poiki. I put a little more wood on the fire and I think I have the poiki warm enough to start cooking with it. Add a little olive oil. And the onions and garlic. I guess I can hear a little bit of a sizzle down in there. So. Season that with a little salt. Put the cover back on and let that simmer away for a little bit. I always get questions whenever I use my South African cooking pot here called a poiki. And the spelling is absolutely nothing like the way it is pronounced. It's a word in Afrikaans, the language of South Africa, native language of South Africa. It is spelled P-O-T-J-I-E-S. And the size, mine is marked number 1, which is the smallest that they come in. So you go up from size from there. I don't know what the capacity would be, but that's plenty big enough for me. I've baked beans in it, and then today I'm making chili in it, and I've made soups in it before. But they come in many sizes and shapes. Some of them that you use outside that have legs on them. I just looked it up on my phone so that I would have the correct spelling, but if you see what I mean there, that one you would just put it in the hot coals with the, like you would with a cast iron Dutch oven if you were cooking outside. It has legs on it, but they come in many shapes and sizes, and mine is a number 1, which I understand is the smallest. The onions are starting to cook. I can hear them sizzling, onions and the garlic. I'm going to add my other seasonings. This is the, is that in focus or not? I can't tell. the chili powder. I never find that this has any heat. If it's a chili powder, it's sweet chilies. But I do like the flavor that it imparts. So I'll put a couple of teaspoons of that in. But I'll get my heat from other sources. The first source for my heat is going to be chili flakes. Can't tell on this thing if that's in focus or not, but it's just the red chili flakes. I'm going to put a teaspoon of those in. That was 2 teaspoons of the chili powder that I added. And I am using my own ground Thai chili powder, and that is hot, lethally hot. I will put a rounded 1/4 teaspoon in, that's all. So, the onions and the garlic are softening nicely. I'll start preparing some of the other vegetables and let those continue to cook. Now, this is what I use as a meat substitute. I've mentioned this product several times in other things that I've used when I've been making videos, but I've never had the packaging available. I've usually already thrown that away. It's made by Ives, available both in Canada and the US anyway, and it's a soy-based protein product. This particular one is already Mexican flavored. Not quite sure what that means, what it might have in it for seasoning to call it Mexican, chipotle peppers or something maybe, but don't think I even realized it had a flavor when I purchased it. But I'm going to put that in now. It's nothing that requires to be cooked like if you were actually using meat, but it's a good time to get it separated and broken up before I add the other vegetables. That broken up down in there. It does seem to have a bit of fat content of some sort, oil or something that was used, so anyway, when you heat it up, it does break apart, and it becomes just like ground round or hamburger. I wasn't always a vegetarian. I know what hamburger was like, and I maintain you could use this in a sauce, or probably in this chili or pasta sauce or whatever, and serve it to somebody and not tell them, and they wouldn't know that it was not a meat product. Adding a can of San Marzano tomatoes. I'll rinse that can out and add the liquid. These were whole, and I took a knife and went down in the can in an attempt at least cutting them up a little bit. I guess I was at least partially successful. Like my chili chunky anyway. I'd better say that now, hadn't I? Well, get the rest of the vegetables cut up. Well, I have some sweet bell pepper, green pepper, and celery and carrots. And this is a jalapeno. Considered a hot chili, but you know, as chilies go, it's about as mild as a hot chili goes. But I'm going to remove the seeds anyway. If I can get them out of there, that is. most of them. I haven't grown jalapenos in a number of years. Maybe I should find some seeds and grow some this summer. I mostly grow my Thai chilies, but a few of those go a long ways. Well, we'll add this to the pot and see what things are looking like. Well, it's quite a low fire, so I think that'll probably have to simmer for probably an hour or so until the vegetables get tender. And I do have beans and chickpeas to add, but they're already cooked, so I won't put them in quite yet. I'll wait until this is almost completely cooked, I guess, before we add those. Well, it's been bubbling away here for at least a half hour or so. So I think I will add the chickpeas and the beans. This is 1 tin of chickpeas and 1 of mixed beans, which also had chickpeas in it, I discovered when I emptied it out. But I took them out of the cans and rinsed them before I left the house. Didn't want the sauce, or whatever you want to call it, that's on them in the can. I never care for the flavor of it. Maybe another half hour or so. The other vegetables will have finished cooking, and what I just added will be nice and warm. Yeah, the carrot still has some texture to it. A little more texture than I would want, I guess, so another half hour or so it should be good. Well, I think it's ready to eat. We'll say it is anyway. I just dished up a bowl. It's a mixture of cheddar and mozzarella on top. Just something I had for pizza. Brought it out with me, I guess. We'll see how hot this is. Hot temperature and hot seasoning. Both, I guess. Obviously hot temperature. The mozzarella started to melt there and stretch. Well, there is pretty good heat, but I wouldn't call it too much. Maybe somebody else would, I don't know. And it has a nice flavor. It'll go down quite nicely. There's a lot of it left. I hope it freezes well. I'll be eating it for a week if not. Yes, that chili powder. I like the flavor. Because it's what I've always been used to, I think, in chili. It's what we've always used around here. When I was growing up, if we had chili or whatever, it wasn't highly seasoned. But got the mozzarella going in all directions here. That might not have been a good idea. I like the flavor that it leaves, though, and the jalapeno and the pepper flakes and the bit of Thai chili that I used have given it a nice heat, but it's not overbearing. And I really like the buttermilk biscuits. Still not using any butter or anything on them. They're quite nice without it. But I think I can think later on. I have a cup of tea. Mozzarella cheese was not a good idea. If I have a cup of tea, I think they'll be very good with some jam on them, like a scone. I brought out a bottle of jam for breakfast, so probably have one or two of those with some tea and jam later this evening. Well, you don't have to watch me eat my whole bowl of chili, so I'll bring you back later on this evening. It's now 6:15 p.m. It's still very light out. The sun doesn't set for well over an hour, probably 7:30 or so, but it goes down behind these trees here where the cabin is, so it gets kind of shady. But now that the time has changed and the days are lengthening, it's still quite light even at 8 p.m. It's almost 8:30 and I'm having my biscuits with blackcurrant jam on them, and it is as I thought it would be. It's very good. Along with a nice cup of tea. If you watch some of my videos in the past, I used to talking myself, yeah, okay. I used to make some maple syrup. I did it 2 or 3 years in a row just for the fun of it. Never got very much out of it. The past few days, and including tonight, would be what we would consider good maple syrup making weather. I don't know if you can't tell if you can read that or not. Probably not. Anyway, it's currently 2 degrees outdoors. But this is giving the forecast for the next number of days. Tonight it's supposed to go down to -4, and that's ideal. Above freezing in the daytime and slightly below freezing at night, and that's when the sap runs the best for making of maple syrup. However, it's changing immediately. This is Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, the daytime temperatures are going to be 6 and 7 degrees, and overnight it's going to stay above freezing. It's just going to be 1 or 2 degrees above freezing. But that's when it just shuts off, just like you turned off a tap. I'm just too far south in the province, I guess, to be seriously making maple syrup, so I'm glad I didn't bother tapping trees. It would be over with by tomorrow sometime, I guess. It would shut down. Well, I'm going to finish my biscuits with blackcurrant jam and do some more reading. I've been reading Rory Stewart's book. Not very far into it, but I'm enjoying it so far. And after that, Angel and I guess, will be calling it a night. I'll see you in the morning when we're getting breakfast ready. Well, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful morning. Nice sunrise. I guess it's about -6 and it's supposed to warm up to around +6 later today. It was a beautiful night. I wish I had a camera that would pick up the starlight and everything. It started out with the moon, about a half moon, but that set, and as soon as the moon set, it was every star in the heavens was out. It was just gorgeous out here. Coffee's on, hasn't quite come to a perk yet, but we're getting breakfast ready. We have liftoff. The coffee has started to perk. I'm beginning to wonder if it was ever going to start to perk. And I can smell it already. It smells very good. The roar that you can hear in the background, I've also got the Coleman camp stove going to do my toast on. Toast is in the toaster, and I even remembered to take the smoke detector down. Every time I make toast out here, it's like a 3-alarm fire. Even if you don't burn the toast, just a little bit of whatever crumbs that fall on the surface there or something, that smoke detector is very sensitive, which in a way I guess is good, but it's also annoying. This is looking out the window at something that I've been trying to figure out since I came out here yesterday. What you're looking at there is my grafted Asian pear tree with snow all the way up the trunk to the first branches, which is, like I said earlier, I think there's probably about a meter of snow out here. But the track going past it, some sort of an animal, trying to figure it out, and it went so close to the tree and under the branches there that it couldn't have been a dog. I'm thinking it's probably the wild rabbits, the snowshoe hare. The track goes all over the place up there. It no longer looks like a rabbit trail. I'd be able to tell if the snow was still fresh, but the track was made probably just after the storm a week ago when the snow was light, and now it's all crusted over and the sun has affected it. It's melted down in. You can't find a track to tell exactly what it is. But if it is a snowshoe hare, I'm glad it kept on going. They can do a lot of damage to shrubs and trees, and I have my 3 cherry trees there and that grafted Asian pear, and if they can reach up into the branches quite nicely now with that snow, so hopefully the snow will melt before they think about it and start pruning them. Well, breakfast is served. We're almost served anyway. The toast is just out of the toaster, buttered. And I'm having it with more of my black currant jam, by far my favorite jam. And the black currant bushes produced very well last year. They always seem to, really. I have 4 or 5, I'm not sure, but more than enough that it makes a good big amount of jam, enough to last me for the year till I have to make more again. And the coffee is hitting the spot. Very good. And this is pretty much my typical breakfast. Either a bagel, banana, or toast. Sometimes cereal, but for some reason, even though I have hens and usually have lots of eggs, starting to lay again now, by the way, they've stopped for a couple of months. I can't face eggs in the morning. I never cared for having eggs for breakfast. Eggs for me is lunch or something. I like omelets and that sort of thing, but I just don't, normally I don't want anything like that in the morning. Angel is still over on the sofa. Hasn't really been up yet this morning, just watching me, I guess. But soon we will be packing up and going back to the house. And hopefully get this video uploaded for this coming weekend. It's getting a bit on the long side, and then with my internet connection, probably take 2 days to upload it. And I'll give you a look back at the cabin when we're leaving. I'm hand holding this, so I'll apologize for the bouncy part, but I didn't notice this yesterday, so whether this all happened in the night last night or it was there and I just didn't notice it, but if you see those little round things on the ground, that proves my point, I guess. It was the snowshoe hare. This is underneath my marvelous huge rose bush that I grew from a seed, which is always loaded with these red hips. And this time of year I'm surprised that there are so many left. You can see those. If I find some, get them in focus. There. There's still quite a few on here. By the time the snow is gone, I'm sure the birds will have eaten them. There are other birds that start to arrive. The migrating birds, the blackbirds and the robins. They do quite a job on them too, but I can't see where the branches of this have been pruned off. Not that it would hurt anything. A little pruning wouldn't hurt it at all. But all of the lower berries are gone, so I'm assuming that the rabbit has been eating them. Just another thing I didn't realize was fed from this shrub, but it's very kind shrub to the wildlife. Angel is glad to get back home, I think. You stretching this morning? Huh? That's girl right there. One final look back at the cabin here. I can see heat coming out of the chimney, but never see any smoke. Very rarely anyway. It's the efficient stove. There's no, unless I put something in there like a piece of cardboard to burn or something, there's never any smoke comes out the chimney. But here are the crows, they're announcing. I imagine the bird feeder over at the house needs to be filled, because if I'm not around, the crows settle on it. Angel's going back to the cabin. Well, I'll just say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this night at the cabin. We'll get this finished and hopefully uploaded soon.